Imagine stepping into a world where an ancient craft, something honed over centuries, suddenly finds itself walking the most exclusive runways of modern luxury.
Yeah, it's quite a picture.
Today, we're diving deep into just such a fascinating intersection. It's where handcrafted heritage from, a specific part of India became this unexpected and pretty controversial focal point for one of high fashion's absolute giants.
A real clash of worlds, in a way.
Totally. Our journey takes us from the bustling, sun-drenched markets of Kolhapur, India, all the way over to the sleek, minimalist show spaces of Milan, Italy.
From traditional artisans to high fashion runways, it's quite the leap.
So our mission today is to really break down the story as how a centuries-old Indian footwear, the Kolhapuri Chappal, became the unlikely star, maybe, of a global conversation involving a luxury powerhouse, Prada, during their men's 2026 fashion show.
Right, and it wasn't just a quiet appearance, was it?
Not at all. We'll explore that initial spark of controversy, understand the incredibly rich history behind these traditional shoes, delve into Prada's own storied legacy, and then crucially examine the bigger picture. Like, what does this incident mean for fashion, for culture, for ethics worldwide?
Yeah, the broader implications are huge here.
Get ready for some genuinely surprising insights
Yeah.
and perhaps a few moments that will make you rethink, what you know about fashion and heritage.
It's a prime example, isn't it, of how our interconnected world means even the most localized craft can just, boom, ignite a global dialogue.
Exactly.
What really stands out to me here is how this particular incident didn't just spark a conversation. It essentially forced the fashion industry to confront these really complex, often uncomfortable questions around cultural recognition, inspiration, appropriation.
Head on.
Yeah.
Head on. I couldn't agree more. And to truly grasp the weight of what happened, we absolutely have to start with the unsung stars of our story,
Right.
the Kolhapuri Chappals themselves.
All right.
You see, these aren't just shoes. They are really a living symbol of Indian heritage with roots deeply entwined in the history of Kolhapur, Maharashtra, stretching all the way back to the 12th century.
Wow, 12th century. Think about that.
Think about that for a moment. Footwear with an unbroken lineage spanning nearly a millennium. It's pretty remarkable.
It truly is. And historically, these chapels weren't just one subtle design. They were known by a variety of names, each reflecting their unique regional origins or specific design variations.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, you might have heard of the Kapashi, the Patan, Kachkari, Bakalnali, or Pukri, each name carrying the sort of essence of a particular village or artisan group.
Right, so very localized.
Very localized knowledge, yeah. It speaks volumes about the deep connection these shoes had to specific communities. And what's particularly fascinating, historically speaking, is the royal patronage they got.
Royal patronage.
For a shoe. Yeah. Rulers like Shahuvers of Kolhapur and later Rajaram II actively supported this industry. They didn't just, appreciate the craft. They established, I think it was, as many as 29 tanning centers to really bolster the local artisans.
29? Wow.
Yeah. So this wasn't just about making nice shoes. It was about strategically nurturing a vital local economy and preserving the livelihoods of the artisans keeping this tradition alive.
That detail about royal patronage is fascinating because it shows how deep this industry ran, not just as a craft, but as part of the region's, social and economic fabric.
Absolutely.
And the craftsmanship itself, it's not just skilled labor. It really is an art form, isn't it?
Oh, completely.
These chapels are meticulously handcrafted from high-quality leather, often cow or buffalo calf, and they use vegetable dyes. Think about that, an eco-friendly finish.
Right. A sustainable process that predates our modern, environmental concerns by centuries.
It's amazing.
The meticulousness is key. The process starts with skilled artisans cutting the leather for the sturdy soles, then braiding the straps into these incredibly intricate, beautiful patterns.
Yeah, those braided straps are so distinctive.
They really are. And here's a detail that highlights their quality. They stitch these shoes entirely without nails.
No nails. How does that work?
It's all stitching and interlocking leather. That's a defining characteristic of their legendary durability and actually their comfort, too. This traditional technique, a true generational inheritance, has been carefully passed down by artisans mainly from Kolhapur, Sangli, Satara, and Solapur in Maharashtra,
Okay.
and also from areas like Bakolkot, Belgavi, Darwood, and Bijapur in Karnataka. These individuals aren't just shoemakers, they are living libraries of centuries of skill.
It's almost like every pair tells a story, weaving history into every stitch.
That's a lovely way to put it.
And culturally, these chapels are more than just something to wear. They're an integral part of Maharashtrian attire, especially visible and cherished during festivals, weddings, important cultural events.
Mhm.
Their simplicity, combined with this sort of inherent elegance, meant they were loved across all social levels, from farmers to royalty. It's pretty rare to find something with that kind of universal appeal and deep cultural meaning.
Absolutely. And it's precisely this profound cultural significance and unique heritage that led to a really key moment in July 2019.
Okay, what happened this?
The Kolhapuri Chappals were officially granted a geographical indication, or GI, tagged by the Controller General of Patents, Designs, and Trademarks.
The GI tag, like champagne or Parmesan cheese.
Exactly like that. It's more than just a label. It's a crucial legal protection. It legally cements their place as a protected traditional craft, safeguarding their authenticity and stopping generic copies from just using their name or heritage.
Okay, so that GI tag is really important here.
Hugely important. It adds this whole other layer of complexity when we talk about them showing up on a global fashion stage.
Precisely. So on one side, we have this incredibly rich, legally protected heritage. Now let's shift our focus to the other massive player in this story, Prada.
Right. The luxury giant.
Most of you probably know Prada as this, ultimate global luxury icon, synonymous with high fashion, cutting-edge design. But they, too, have a really deep history rooted in craftsmanship, even though it evolved very differently.
Prada was founded back in 1913 by Mario Prada in Milan. And interestingly, it started quite humbly as a refined leather goods shop.
Leather goods. Huh.
Yeah. So there's this interesting, almost poetic link with the Kolhapuri Chappals and their shared foundation in leather and craftsmanship, even if their paths went in wildly different directions.
And they quickly made a name for themselves, right? Gained prestige fast.
Very fast. Just a few years later, in 1919, they hit a huge milestone, earning the title of official supplier to the Italian royal house.
Wow. Official supplier to royalty.
Yeah, that endorsement allowed them to use the House of Savoy coat of arms in their logo, instantly giving the brand this air of aristocratic elegance and exclusivity. It really set the stage for them becoming a high-end luxury name.
But the Prada we know today, that global powerhouse, really transformed under Miuccia Prada, right?
Yeah.
When she took over.
Absolutely. Miuccia Prada, who took the helm in 1978, was a complete game changer. She fearlessly introduced groundbreaking stuff, like using industrial nylon in luxury fashion, which was totally unheard of then.
Nylon. In luxury.
Exactly. And she also pioneered those minimalist designs that became Prada's signature, seamlessly blending tradition with this really forward-thinking modernity. She basically redefined what luxury could even mean, moving it beyond just opulence to something more intellectual, more understated.
Okay, so that brings us pretty dramatically to the moment these two very different worlds, centuries apart in origin and approach, collided. Fast forward to June 28th, 2025.
Right. The show.
The setting. Prada's Men's 2026 Spring-Summer Fashion Show. Big event, sleek designs, cutting-edge trends, models walking the runway, global fashion press watching, and then, well, yeah, something happened.
Amidst Prada's latest collection, there were these sandals. And these sandals, with their very distinctive braided straps and minimalist look, bore this uncanny, almost unmistakable resemblance to the traditional Kolhapuri Chappals.
Unmistakable.
To anyone familiar with the Indian footwear, yeah, instantly recognizable.
Okay, here's where the tension really ramps up. The immediate flashpoint, the thing that set off the firestorm, was a critical omission.
The show notes.
Exactly. The initial show notes accompanying Prada's collection had absolutely no mention, no acknowledgement of any inspiration drawn from traditional Indian craftsmanship.
Zip.
Oof. You can just imagine the reaction.
Right. Imagine someone who knows these shoes intimately, maybe wears them, seeing what looks like their cultural heritage just represented, uncredited, probably with a massive luxury price tag attached. That glaring omission provoked a swift and, frankly, powerful backlash.
Oh.
Social media, especially in India, just erupted with comparisons, accusations of cultural appropriation.
It went viral pretty fast, I bet.
Instantly. But it wasn't just online anger, it quickly turned into organized action. The Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, MCCIA, led by President Lalit Gandhi, put out this strong, clear statement.
What did they demand?
They didn't just ask for recognition, they demanded fair compensation and ethical engagement. And crucially, they specifically highlighted the Kolhapuri Chappal's GI status.
Ah, the GI tag again. That makes it different.
Totally different. It made this potentially more than just a style inspiration. It was bordering on an intellectual property issue. Even prominent political figures like BJP MP Dhananjay Mahadik got involved, meeting with the chief minister about potential GI rights violations.
Wow, so it escalated beyond just fashion circles.
Way beyond, it quickly became a serious issue of cultural ownership and economic justice.
The pressure on Prada must have been immense. They had to respond, didn't they?
Undeniable. They had to address this, and their response was obviously going to be crucial.
So what did they do?
Well, Prada acted relatively swiftly. They issued an official statement, and importantly, Lorenzo Bertelli, who heads up their corporate social responsibility, sent a direct letter to Embassy CIA.
A direct letter.
And the acknowledgement was pretty clear. They stated, and I'm pulling the quote here, "We deeply recognize the cultural significance of such Indian craftsmanship, and even more specifically, we acknowledge that the sandals are inspired by traditional Indian handcrafted footwear with a centuries-old heritage."
That's quite an admission.
Yeah.
Especially for a brand like Prada.
It was significant, yeah.
So they owned up to the inspiration. Did they say anything else?
They also expressed openness to further discussions with artisan communities, emphasizing their commitment to responsible design and cultural engagement moving forward, which sounds good.
Okay.
But there was a crucial little detail tucked into their response. They noted that the designs were still at an early stage and were not yet confirmed for commercialization.
Not confirmed for commercialization. That's a key caveat, isn't it?
It's vital because it adds this layer of, well, ambiguity. While Prada's acknowledgement was seen as positive, a necessary first step, really, the core debate isn't fully settled.
Right, because the sandals might never actually be sold.
Exactly. The discussions are still ongoing, focusing on what concrete actions will follow. Will this lead to real, equitable collaborations? How will fair compensation be worked out? How will those benefits actually reach the artisans who hold this heritage?
Yeah, the not yet confirmed bit leaves room for them to either build a genuine partnership or just quietly shelve the designs, leaving the main issues kind of unresolved.
Precisely.
So this isn't just about an apology and moving on. It's kicked off a much broader ongoing conversation.
Definitely.
And this specific incident, Prada and the Kolhapuri Chappals, it really pulls at much larger critical threads in the fashion industry and, in culture generally.
Absolutely. This moment reignited with real intensity that perennial and often tricky debate within fashion. The fine, often blurry line between cultural appropriation and genuine appreciation.
Where is that line? It seems so hard to define sometimes.
It is. Brands have always drawn inspiration from global cultures, and they will continue to. But the line between inspiration and, frankly, exploitation gets dangerously thin when credit, acknowledgement, and especially fair compensation are just missing.
Right. It's not just about saying inspired by.
No. It challenges us to define what responsible design actually means in a world disconnected.
And this isn't the first time we've seen this kind of thing, is it?
Not by a long shot. We've seen historical echoes of this exact debate play out over and over. Remember the controversies about Native American patterns in fashion?
Oh, yeah. Several times.
Or various traditional African prints? Designers getting criticized for using cultural motifs without proper credit, or worse, without any real partnership or benefit flowing back to the source communities.
So the Prada thing is another powerful reminder that these conversations aren't new, they're ongoing, and they're often really tense. They demand deeper solutions than just saying sorry.
Exactly. And for the Kolhapuri artisans themselves, this whole situation is a real double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, on one hand, the global spotlight now on their craft, even if it started controversially, could potentially open doors to huge global markets, maybe genuine collaborations with major brands. It's exposure they probably couldn't get otherwise.
Okay, potential upside.
But on the other hand, it really sharpens those critical questions. If collaborations happen, how do they make sure the engagement leads to genuinely fair economic benefits and deep cultural respect?
Right. How do you avoid it just being a fleeting trend that uses their design but doesn't really help them long term?
Exactly. How do we ensure it's a sustainable partnership that actually uplifts their communities and honors their legacy, not just, acquires their designs for profit? This incident becomes this really crucial case study for how the world might move from just inspiration to true equitable partnership.
That really is the core of it, isn't it? The difference between a quick grab and a sustained relationship built on respect. Ultimately, what this deep dive has really hammered home is the critical need for the entire fashion world to balance its constant chase for innovation, for newness, with a serious commitment to ethical engagement.
It's a big ask, but necessary.
It's about ensuring that traditional crafts, like the Kolhapuri Chappal, aren't just admired from afar or copied without credit, but are truly celebrated, actively supported, and, most importantly, properly compensated for their incredible contribution to global style and heritage. This isn't just about sandals. It's about livelihoods, cultural identity, the future of centuries of tradition.
It truly makes you think about every thread, every stitch, every design choice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The layers of history, culture, ethics just woven into what we wear.
It absolutely does.
Mhm.
This deep dive has shown us pretty clearly that even in the fast-paced, trend-driven world of high fashion, history and heritage have immense, undeniable power.
They really do.
The story of the Kolhapuri Chapel in Prada reminds us that true innovation, the kind that lasts and enriches, often comes not from working in isolation, but from respectful dialogue, from real partnership, and from a deep appreciation of where things come from.
All set.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. What responsibility do we as consumers, as admirers of culture, as people participating in this global marketplace truly have? What's our role in demanding that the beautiful things we choose to buy and enjoy are not just nice to look at, but are also ethically sourced, genuinely appreciative of their origins, and actually contribute positively to the creators and the cultures they represent?
That's a powerful question to leave people with.
It shifts the lens, doesn't it? From just what we wear to how it got here and who really benefits along the way. It makes you think.